Hello and welcome to the Bend Like Bamboo Resilience Show. To bend like bamboo is to master change with flexibility. So on the show, I'm interviewing very special guests and we're going to dive deep into their journey of how they have built resilience when dealing with change. No matter what we are going through, what we believe is what matters, and we can overcome it. So I'm so excited to introduce my very special guest today, Matt Lanigan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's all right. Thanks so much for coming on the show. So I just want to do a brief intro for you. You are the founder of Lucky Penny Cafe, a famous brunch and function venue on Chapel Street, my local, very groovy. And you're also the managing director of Matt Lanigan Real Estate, something new I'm learning about you. You are passionate about the community. I know that you are always giving back to charities like Food Bank Victoria, and you're also brand ambassador for Polished Man.
Right.
To date, you have fed over 8,000 of the most vulnerable in Victoria during COVID-19 and over 800 people in July. That is mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's it's a great achievement. We've done it through the community. Basically, it's donations from our online grocery store. So
yeah,
we couldn't have done that without the community support and the community buy-in. So yeah, it's something we're proud of. And actually, just on 2 days ago, we cracked over 10,000 Victorians that we've fed. Yeah.
Oh, well done. That truly is amazing, because there's a lot of human beings going through so much stuff. We were just talking about that before. Today is Are You OK Day, and you know, the mental health ramifications, and imagine being that hungry where you would have to eat pet food and all that stuff that's going on at the moment.
I know, it's brutal. It's it's tough out there, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the little things that we can do, and you know, it's a small part of what Food Bank Victoria is doing, but you know, if we can all kind of take a little bit and contribute a little bit, then
if everybody does a little bit, it becomes a greater and bigger organism, doesn't it?
That's right. Yeah. So
and it's that happiness that you're generating. It's like an organism. It's an energy of like how it helps you to be grateful for the little things of making such a difference that seems small, but it's actually quite big.
100%. Like you are so right with the gratitude and the like fulfillment that I get and my team get from being able to give back to the community. It gives us more energy to go through. Like, you know, no one's having fun sitting on the coffee machine and making, you know, 10% of what we would usually make. You know, so being able to help is where we're serving the community, you know, on our tables or in our function space, where instead of having them in our venue, we're serving them in the public. So
yeah. No, absolutely. So you and I met because I booked my 40th at your venue, which we haven't been able to have yet because, everything shut down shortly after March, and Nicole's and my 40th was going to be around the 30th of March. And so you obviously had to, you pivoted quickly, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it was unfortunate that we couldn't have your 40th with your sister, and it was, you know, it was a tough time for us because we had, you know, you were one of many functions that we had to postpone or cancel, and we managed to be able to do yours 12 months later. But a lot of the events were, you know, first birthday or a baby shower or an engagement or a wedding. We had a couple of weddings, and you know, these things that you can't push them back 12 months or whatever. So we had to refund. It was over 50K worth of function.
Wow.
Deposits, and we also lost 2 weeks of trade revenue. So for a small business, we live off our weekly trade. You know, we bills off our weekly trade, and you know, a little bit goes aside, but you know, we don't necessarily have 55K sitting around just to give back straight away. No. So being, I guess, feeling obliged to our clients, and also feeling obligated to our staff and making sure that they had work. I could see it was coming. I basically could see. I was watching. I'm very involved into world news and in local and national news, and so I could see that COVID was already here in January, and I could see that it was coming from, every country in the world was getting it, and these things were going into place. And so I was watching, going, when it comes to Australia, it wasn't a matter of if it was, I knew it was coming. And I was, when it comes, how can I position my business so that we don't shut? And my staff will still have a job. And so I was like adamant that I was not going to close. Like, I was seeing lockdowns in this country, that country, and I was like, I'm not going to close. How can I be a necessity? So I was looking at what would be a necessity based on other countries, and I found that, the one that was most in line with what we offered was a grocery store. And at that time there was a shortage in toilet paper, hand sanitizer, flour, eggs, these things. So I rang up my suppliers and I was like, all right, if I do this concept and we shut down completely, will you guys still be able to supply? And they said, yes. There was 1 in 6 that said no, which was okay. And we found someone else that could do it. And but we wouldn't have been able to, implement that grocery store concept if we didn't have the support of the suppliers as well. Because, we still had, with a few of them, we had some invoices that were outstanding, but they were happy for us to just do a pay-as-you-go system. So it started off with, before we got into full lockdown, we launched it, and it was call up, and call up by Wednesday, and then on Sunday you can pick up your box, like you're going to the market on a Sunday. And then that was letterbox dropped for 10,000 homes around the area, and then by the staff that couldn't serve on the floor. And then by the Monday, after those had been dropped out, by the Monday we got shut down completely. So we literally built an online grocery store through Shopify within 48 hours. All of the staff had done their COVID infectious training, and we were like defiant that we weren't going anywhere.
Good on you.
We managed to generate enough revenue from that to survive for 4.5, 5 weeks. And then JobKeeper came in, and and if JobKeeper didn't come in, that we wouldn't have been open. Like, it gave us a lifeline to, I guess, have hope that we could rebuild. But if that didn't come in, we'd be shut for sure.
Absolutely. No, it's really impressive. And what you've just said there is, reiterates what I just said at the start. What we believe is what matters. And I really do think that, because that's what you decided, you created that, and that's really impressive. And also timing, because you foresaw it and you thought about it before it all sort of started to happen. And I think that's really impressive. So well done.
Thank you. And with the timing thing, I guess I was, I'm entrepreneurial minded by nature, and my brain is always thinking about a million different things. And it wasn't something like, I literally was thinking about it for 3 weeks before we got locked down. And I was probably up till about 1 or 2 o'clock every night going, this is coming. And I was almost in like a soldier mindset, that I was like, I'm going to do whatever I can to protect my business, my family, my staff, and do the right thing as well within the restrictions that whatever government throws at us. So I was like being positive and defiant and staunch at the same time.
Well, good on you, because that's not hard to do when you're in survival mode. When we're in survival mode, we tend to go into a bit of a selfish mode, and you didn't, and that just shows credit to your character and personality. So again, really impressive. So I'm going to dive in. What does resilience mean to you?
Look, I think resilience, it is definitely like a buzzword at the moment, but it's really what you do to get through adversity, and how you know, that what makes up resilience, you know, mindset, having the right people around you.
Yeah.
And making sure that you are taking care of yourself as well as whatever else you need to, whether it's people or business or whatever. You know, resilience, I guess it's a combination of things to help you get through that adversity or the tough.
That's true. It is a combination of moving parts, isn't it?
Yeah. And, you know, for me, I've always, I'm lucky because I have a close network of people that are from all different walks of life. Like, you know, my top 5 would be, if you were to look at them on paper, you would be like, how the hell are you guys friends? You know, but it's because we're all strong, and we're all not afraid to say it how it is. And
you're aligned in that way.
And that's right. And so I think that that for me, that support group is really strong. I've also got a strong business network, and then also a strong family. So people for me is probably, you know, the most important thing to be resilient, because you can't, even though it may look on the outside, like to you or to someone looking in, that I am resilient, and that's true, but I couldn't be that resilient person without those people supporting me when I need them to. So I think that is probably the foundation of resilience. And then from that, you know, you've got to have passion. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, you know, you probably will be moving to something else rather than pushing through there, because, you know, so you've got the people, and then the passion to push through, and then being positive, and that's a mindset thing. And, you know, for me, it's mindset is so important. And, you know, I've had to improve my daily routine over the last 6 months dramatically, because it used to be quite relaxed, and it would be like, have my morning coffee and then do some exercise and then do my daily journal and then go on with my day. But now it's like, right, I set a challenge that I've got to be out of bed by 6:30 in the morning. Otherwise I've already lost for the day. Like, that's my first win. And then I have a shot of espresso, and then I go for the walk, and then walk, and it's back home by 7:30. And it's like, got to be in the office or on the computer or out the door at 8 o'clock. And so that's kind of been that. And it's like, get out of bed, make the bed. That's the first win.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got out of bed by 6:30 and you've made the bed by 6:31. You've won twice for the day. So it's mindset.
That's right.
And it's positive mindset. And then I have the daily, the 5-minute journal, which is 3 things I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
3 things that I'll do today, and a daily affirmation, and take a photo of where I am. And those things are done by 8 o'clock, and then that sets the foundation for the day. So, and it doesn't matter what comes my way, and I don't have all good days. Actually, you know, yesterday was quite a disjointed day. It was full on, and I was pretty much in front of the screen most of the day, which is not something that I enjoy, but had to be done. And by the night time I was like cooked, and you know, I took the morning off today, and I did I went for a swim in the bay, and I did some breathing exercises and just did some self-care, because I knew that I needed to be at the top of my game for the rest of the week.
So you listened to your body when you were doing too much.
And that was, you know, I still did my morning routine. I was out of bed at 6:30 and I was ready to go at 8, but from 8 until 12:30, it was me time. So I think that's important to be as well, you know, because when you're going through adversity, it's kind of tempting that you have to be doing something the whole time, because it's so dramatic, and you've got to be like, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. And then you get into a snowball that, you're actually not being productive at all. So
No.
remove yourself from that, take some me time, and then, yeah.
I need to take your advice on that this week. I do. I'm hearing myself just going, I'm listening to you going, yeah, I think I need to actually just have a bit of me time tonight.
Yeah.
So if I was to ask you a question of, do you want to talk about something you've been through in your life? Do you think the most, integral and relevant and biggest thing you've been going through is probably how you've had to pivot in business lately, or would it be something else you want to talk about?
Well, I guess we can talk about COVID. It's relevant to everyone. I did go through a pretty big transition about 8 years ago or 7 years ago when I decided to exit my previous career and go into the new career, which previous career was based around hospitality, events and entertainment, nightlife, nightclubs, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I saw that. Whilst Matt was hosting a party on a $100 million super yacht for a billionaire in the Greek islands, he decided that he had achieved what he could in this space and wanted a new challenge. And that's when you went into real estate, right?
Correct.
That sounds like a pretty groovy lifestyle before that.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. And, it was an amazing experience. I was literally I was a VIP host on Mykonos in the Greek islands, and Kaz James, really good friend of mine, he was DJing resident at top spot in the world, and people were coming to super yachts, and we literally were like, it was out of like, it was
what does a super yacht look like? Like, what is a super yacht?
Okay, so think about like the biggest yacht in the Docklands.
Yeah.
And then times it by 10. And it's got full-time chef, full-time, it's got 7-8 staff.
Wow.
Cover girls coming in off dinghies, DJs.
Ultimate party.
Premier League soccer players, like all these kind of larger than life. The boats are worth anywhere between $100 to $300 million.
Wow.
To build, and these guys hire them for the season, or they own them, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was, having a great time in Mykonos, and it was awesome. And I was hosting these parties and having these amazing dinners and what have you. And I was sitting. I think it was the 9th time that I had gone out onto a super yacht party to kind of host the party. And I was sitting there and I had this, epiphany that I was like, I actually think that I've done everything that I can do in this space in Melbourne and across Australia, like that I was, at my level. And I was just like, I don't want to come back. Next time I come back to Mykonos, I want to be able to enjoy a boat and not be the one that's coming in to run the party on the boat.
Yeah.
So I came back to Melbourne and I did my final 3 events. And I did my last event, which was the St Kilda Festival at the Prince of Wales Hotel. And there was like 15 people in the hotel room afterwards with a DJ, and my alarm went off at 5 a.m. and I grabbed my bag and I went to the airport and I went to South Africa. And I basically did this nature trip with a friend of mine over there, and we hiked Johannesburg and did a road trip through the middle of South Africa.
Wow.
The second largest indigenous rainforest. Went to the most eastern important state in an eco village.
Wow.
4-wheel drive across the mountains, surfed the wild coast, and then drove through the Free State, stayed in a friend's uncle's animal sanctuary, and then came back. And I came back and I said, right, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I started studying in real estate, and that was the turning point. But the time that, I guess, that transition period was really hard, because I went from a lifestyle that was, basically running events for a living and being very social, to then removing myself completely from that. And for about 6 to 9 months, it was really tough, because I was used to that, social interaction, and I would love that as well. It was almost
you got your energy from it because you're a people person too.
That's right. Yeah. And so it was tough for me for a while, and for me to get through that was like a really big challenge. And I was also battling like a bit of my own pride and a bit of my own ego
and identity. I
was struggling to let go of. But I realized eventually at the end of the 9 months that in order for me to move on and have success in the next space, I needed to let go of that. And so then I found these techniques of, and I did I worked with, I improved my skills in marketing. I worked with one of the world's leading lead generators from LinkedIn, and he had some amazing techniques and some amazing routines and processes, which I've now taken into my life. And so I was really, it was a bit of, self-learning but I guess I needed to get a bit more corporate, because from what I was doing, it was all startup, and it was all, my own rules and my own policies and procedures and stuff. And so I needed to get a bit more corporate. So I went in and I went into a workplace where I really wanted to work, and he wanted me to prove that I needed to work there. So I had to basically, prove to him. So I went in and I did 14-hour days, 6 days a week. And I just was like a sponge learning off him. And then from there, I started to, I guess, go through and
create a new version of yourself.
I did, and I was like pulling beers at my mate's pub at night time, and I was studying during the day. And I started, I invested some money here so that I could then get my full real estate license in New South Wales and Victoria. And then I went and worked with a corporate development company and learned from there. And then I went and worked with another company. And now I'm doing rent converters and 35 properties. So rent converters is like a house and land thing, and 35 properties like a development thing. So,
yeah. Oh, cool. And so what made you decide to go back into hospitality while still running your real estate? Did you miss the people?
So Lucky Penny's always been there through that whole time.
Oh, cool.
So Lucky Penny is now 7 years old.
I actually didn't know that. That's cool.
And so that's been one constant. So I guess originally I started it from the ground up, and we built it, and then it got to a point where it could kind of run itself, and I would just check in, 15, 20 hours a week in the back end kind of thing.
Sure.
And up until COVID hit, like that's pretty much what I was doing with Lucky Penny. Probably, maybe like January, mid-Jan, I started to get a bit more involved in it.
Yeah.
And I could see, as I said earlier, but at the end of the day, it's my business, and I own 80% of it. And if it's not going, if the current business model needs to change, well, then I'm back into.
Yeah. And have you had to juggle pivoting in, like at Lucky Penny as well as your real estate business at the same time?
Yeah, so the real estate ambitions were put on hold for 6.5 weeks because Lucky Penny needed my undivided attention to survive.
Yeah.
And then now it's back at a point where I can, my partner and my employees can run it, because we've got new procedures. Everything's got a new system, and even the coffee window has a new system. But so now I can put my energy back into the property stuff, and that's going well. And
it sounds like no matter what you've been through professionally or personally, your turning point has been very similar in that it's like you're able to foresee and preempt the future, and by the sounds of it, you do a lot of work on yourself every day. And so when we do that, I really believe that's how we find our inner anchor that allows us to be more flexible and therefore more creative and innovative in how we find solutions when hits the pan. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it sounds like you're very aware, and you're very open to mental health. You recognize that it's a important, well-being is so important for men and women, and also, in our lives, not just personally, but professionally as well. So that's pretty extraordinary. I mean, do you think your life is better now, having gone through even just the most recent COVID craziness? Like, how do you think your life's better now because of what you've just been through? Or even back then, that story you told as well,
We'll focus on now. Going through COVID has made me, I'm an optimist. I'm positive by nature, and I'm a big believer in positive energy, and having positive energy around me creates positive results. No matter what's going on in the environment or in the environment around me. If I project positive energy and have positive people like, you giving me positive energy through this interview, it will create positive results for me. So COVID was no different, even though it was, a once in 100-year event, and it was devastating, and it still is going to be devastating for years to come. I can't be sitting here feeling sorry for myself. So I used it as an opportunity. Well, first of all, to be defiant, and I'm not going to give up. And then second of all, to identify what's not working.
Yeah.
So be completely honest with my businesses and myself and say, where am I weak? Or what is, where are we losing money in Lucky Penny? Where are the weaknesses in the business model? Where are the weaknesses in my personal business model? Identify those, get rid of them now, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to actually get rid of the shit. Like,
it's true.
And I'm not talking about, get rid of the shit people that are on social media, get rid of the shit people in your life, get rid of the bad energy.
Reset.
Get rid of the bad energy in all components of your life, that and what makes you tick and what makes me tick can be completely different.
Yeah.
But get rid of the bad energy that is bringing you down, because at the end of the day, whether it's a process in business or a human or anything else, if it's giving you bad energy, then it's bringing down.
And when we go through change, we change, and alignment that was before may not be. And you said before you had to become really good at letting go. So maybe the skills you learned, back when you shifted from entertainment into real estate, maybe that is something you brought into how, letting go and into our current crisis that we just went through.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct. Like I've been through a transition where I've done it tough. So, that letting go of things you think are important, but really when you look back in a couple of years, you go, why did I think that?
Yeah, it's just not.
I've had to do that a couple of times in my life already. So maybe I am better prepared for this moment than others, but that doesn't mean that, just because I went through that, others can't start doing that now. Like if we look at the roadmap that we have right now, what is it, 10th of September, if we look at that date now, and then we look at when we're actually allowed to get back to real proper activity as a society, it's 2.5 months almost from so we've got 2.5 months to restart our lives, our businesses, our environment. And, we could probably, if we didn't have 2.5 months, we would probably say we could do it in 4 weeks, to eliminate those things. So we've got heaps of time to get it right and get ourselves ready for the rebuild. So, we could sit there and go, it's really unfair. We should get back to business now, providing that we can still put food on the table and we don't get kicked out of our house, and, providing we can survive. And I think that the government has put in the initiative so that those things won't happen. Sure, it's really sad that we can't see our families, and it's really sad that we can't, go and see our loved ones and our friends and what have you.
Yeah.
And that is devastating, and it's really hard to do emotionally. But you know, we've all got Zoom, and whilst it's not a hug and a kiss, it's still
something.
You can still interact, and you can still see their face.
And maybe, I mean, it is devastating and it's taking its toll, the loneliness, but I've found, you know, I wouldn't have done some of the things that I've been able to get done if I didn't have so much alone time. And I see that as such a blessing, but it took me a little while to go, oh, wow, yeah, was almost like meant to be. Sometimes life throws you what you need rather than what you want. And not that we would ever call a pandemic something that anyone would ever want or need, but you know what I mean? Sometimes whatever circumstances you're faced with right now, even within the pandemic and COVID, is however your life's reorganized, try and look at it with a fresh set of eyes where, you know, maybe this is helping you to rebuild yourself and become a whole new version of yourself if you just let go of the resistance and go swim downstream instead of upstream.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's a global economic reset.
Yeah.
And it should be also a global personal reset, you know.
Yeah.
And you, like, honestly, there will never be another time in our lives where we get an opportunity to
rebuild,
really get rid of the fucking shit.
Yeah. No, this is actually the coolest thing you've said, like, get rid of the shit. Like, awesome.
And you know, so we could sit there, and a friend of mine, she's a sleep expert, and I was talking to her at the start of the pandemic, and she sent something out like, you know, is this the best thing? Like, this was like in April or May. Is this pandemic the best thing that's happened to you in your personal life? And I was like, are you kidding? Like, how can you think that? And she's like, well, let's have a look at it and see what you can actually eliminate and how you can make it better. And as a positive, and like, it really, you know, struck me as going, right, you know, everything that I can do from here is like going to be looking at the best as the opportunity instead of that. You know, it is sad and it's devastating, but you dwell on that, then, you know,
you use all your energy. And
that's right.
When you know what you don't want, you kind of know what you want more and more. So that's kind of cool too.
And speaking about upstream, I actually read a book the other day called Upstream.
Oh, cool.
I'm not sure if you've read it.
I haven't heard of it, but it's a title.
I recommend anyone I speak to, anyone that I come in contact with, I'm like, you should read this book because
I'm writing it down.
It has changed the way that I look at everything right now, especially because of the pandemic. And now I see things 6 steps ahead of where they can be. And it focuses on, you know, the opening scene is that there's a man, there's 2 people by the lake and they're having a picnic, and this baby comes floating down the river. They jump in and they save the baby, and then they get back to shore, and then another baby comes floating down the river, and they jump back in and they get back to shore. Just as they're getting out, another baby comes screaming down the river, and as they're coming back in, one of the guys walks up the stream, and the other guy shouts to him, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I'm going upstream to tackle the guy that's throwing in the babies."
Get to the cause of the issue.
That's right. So now I look at everything as, how can we prevent this from happening again, instead of putting a Band-Aid over the problem. So, and I think it's like a mindset thing, and that's just one example of what this.
I love it. Yeah. And it's letting go of the resistance, you know.
It's relevant to, to today.
Because we use so much energy being upset and worried and fearful, and so I think it's really important to focus on what we want and the positive and what we can rebuild out of this, because there will be a lot of opportunity. So what's the main thing you've learned?
The main thing that I've learned
in how you had to pivot for COVID?
Sure. Well, look, I guess I've learned that I can still function and still have success even at the most craziest, unpredictable times.
That's a cool thing to realize.
So, now I feel like you can throw any challenge at me and I'll be able to deal with it.
And that shows that it's built your resilience.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you discover what you're made of, through going through the shit, actually leaning into the black abyss of uncertainty and just going through it, not around it, not avoiding it, through it, you come out the other end, you're like, well, if I can do that through a pandemic and still succeed, imagine what else I can do.
And I think, I've learned a lot about other people and, the true colours of people shine through in tough times and, perhaps some of the pretenders or the more evil people in our society will shine through. It's kind of hard to hide during these times,
especially in stressful times.
So I think learning about myself that and other people that.
So just on my final question for you is, do you have 3 tips that I can share with the community on how to be more resilient?
Well, I guess maybe going back to the start, I think it's really important to have a core group of people, maybe not mentors, doesn't necessarily have to be, they don't have to be, your business or business mentors, but having good people in your corner, even if you look at a boxer, it's a single one-on-one sport, but a good boxer versus a good boxer with a good team, I'm going to back the good boxer with the good team every time.
Yeah.
Because this boxer may throw a Hail Mary and land a good punch, but this boxer will win more fights.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to have a really good team.
Yeah.
And, for me, that's probably number one. That's the number one tip, having a good team. I think number 2 is don't be upset if you fail, because, to be resilient, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And,
and
so you fail, sure, quickly deal with that, learn from that, take those learnings into the next thing.
And keep going. Keep going. Yeah.
And then 3 is positive energy.
Yep. And how do you do that?
Well, how do you do positive energy? I guess whatever makes you happy, so for me, I love seeing the sunrise.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm out of bed by 6:30. So even if the sun has risen before I get to see it, it's like I'm seeing it get up there. So for me, it's the start of the day, but for someone else, it might be, reading a book before they go to bed, or
meditating,
or telling someone they love them, or whatever. But keeping positive energy. When you get negative energy, try and get rid of it straight away. So I'm a big believer in energy, and I have a natural defense mechanism when negative energy enters. I'm automatically
you feel it,
aware of it.
Yeah.
And it's not that I can't be in a space with it. I can learn to deal with that. But I think if you project positive energy, and perhaps something which I am just getting into, and it's something that I've learnt through the Center of Optimism, is instead of asking someone, how are you? Ask them, what are you optimistic about today? Cool. So, because, it's very mundane. How are you? Yeah, good.
It's very mundane.
It is a waste of energy. It's a waste of breath, because you get nothing out of it, and the person you're speaking to gets nothing out of it either.
No.
And you may as well, besides the fact that you've acknowledged them, there's nothing more.
There's no intention behind it, because everyone says it all the time. It's I love it. So it's like neuroplasticity. What are you optimistic about today? It would throw someone. They would go,
they'd be like, hold on a second, what? And then, But that's only because it's not the normal.
Yeah, and that's the best thing about it. It's creating new pathways.
And you can't, like, I reckon, 99 out of 100 times you're going to get someone go, I'm actually, optimistic that the sun's out today. It's not raining. And
you could change their whole day just asking that.
100%. So yeah, I think, we'll throw that in there as a little break.
I love it. And it sounds like, the way that you produce positive energy is self-care, doing what makes you happy.
Yeah, definitely. I meditate at night before I go to sleep, and I do the daily affirmation, and that's kind of the front and the end of it, and then whatever else is necessary. If I need to do some boxing, or if I need to go for a run, or if I need to have a dip in the bay, or if I need to do these things, then I'll do them. I guess I'm not as strict about my high intensity training. It's more about what works for me, and that hour walk in the morning, that works for me.
Yeah.
And then if I need something else throughout the week, then I'll throw that in there. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, because walking is very good restorative exercise. And when we're very stressed, sometimes that is the better exercise to choose to balance out our autonomic nervous system. Yeah. Sometimes caning ourselves at the gym when we're stressed can be, counterproductive. So, and
also right now, you can't go to the gym.
No, true.
So, and I like a trainer because I'm not strict enough on myself.
I'm the same. I've been doing Zoom Pilates with my clinical Pilates instructor. So thank God for that. This has been so cool, Matt. Thank you. I want everybody to walk away today from just believing that no matter what they're going through, they can overcome it. And I think you've given some golden nuggets there.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I love what you're doing. And
thank you.
Sharing the resistance message is so relevant to today, and people need to, to build that for sure. So thanks for having me. And
that's all right.
A bit of my story.
And your store, if people want to support your grocery store, it's the luckypenny.store, isn't it?
Yes, correct. And or you can call us on 0456 444 277 and you can speak to someone in person.
Beautiful. Oh, beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Matt. And I'm sure I will see you soon, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Great. Thank you. You too.